Chapter 2. Thoughts.
His brush with the lookalike raised concern. The newer model's sensory perception was more attuned to the realm than those he'd encountered before his trip. He made his way further along the skywalk. The surrounding mass of people did not allay his feeling of isolation. Behind his somber pretense lay a strength of mind, much like the muscular shoulders concealed beneath his starship captain's uniform. Being alone had as much effect on him as a molecule in space. Since early childhood, Zentran had noticed other children did not have his mental abilities or remember their former lifetimes. If recollections did exist, they were considered fantasy, and Delta 4B children were not permitted to fantasize. Council instructors made certain of that. Bitter experience had taught Zentran to keep such recollections to himself, as well as his knowledge of the equilibrium of matter. Sometimes he'd wondered,
why am I on this shameful planet? What brought me here?
Being on Delta 4B had seemed to be no random occurrence. One sequence as a child, a memory had come to him.
Your presence is urgently required in this sector of the universe. A mishap's unfavorable outcome must be corrected. Imperative to the quest is your untarnished record of success.
The communication had emanated from his superior officer from a previous life among the electric swordsmen of Rowan. She had summoned him here on a mission. However, neither the nature of the mishap or the details of his mission were revealed to him. Even now as a man, he could only speculate from the Council's insane control mechanisms the quest he was required to perform. For some reason, he was yet to be briefed on the mission's specifics. His association with his superior had always been formal, but he'd have liked it to be more. An air about her had hinted of a mutual affinity, but an opportunity to explore the attraction had never presented itself. The era of the electric swordsman of Rowan had long since passed, and his superior officer's call to duty had been more recent.
Where did the rest of the swordsmen land up?
He wondered.
Perhaps some of them are here.
Of his commanding officer, there was one thing of which he had no doubt.
I'm here because I'd follow you anyway. Perhaps we'll get to know each other this time. If you are here on this planet somewhere and of like mind, I'll make sure we are much more to each other than before.
The memory of her seemed somewhat surreal now. She'd been a fine figure of a woman, larger than life, and skill with an electric sword that rivaled even his. Once more, for lack of data, he put aside the treasured recollections of her and her unspecified request for his assistance. His thoughts moved to the people of Delta 4B. Even if not included in his mission orders, he knew somehow he had to help them. The people here had not always been so degraded. Zentran had read books as a child of powerful beings of eons past who'd combined their mental energy to bring about the Delta solar system. One of these beings had constructed plants designed to live independently in the planet's atmosphere of air. For continued existence, energy was derived from water existing on the planet's surface and sunlight radiated by the solar system's primary star. another creative being brought animals into existence, which were more independent still. They required living sustenance to survive, and carelessly consumed the earlier plant creations. In retaliation, vicious animals were devised, devouring the previously brought about animals in order to obtain nourishment. A game ensued. Many different beings joined in and created all manner of creatures designed to combat for food in ever more cunning ways. And then they made man, the most vicious of all, who wiped everything before him clean. Subsequent escapades, when the initiators themselves inhabited the planets, read like far-fetched fables and childish games to the unenlightened. Such myths were regarded as a bit of a giggle to the present-day populace. Zentran's credence with the concept, however, motivated a search for every volume he could lay his hands on, even though presented as mystical fantasy. The belief that everything had always been there was too vague. The solar system and physical universe had existed for a long time, almost an eternity, but something must have brought them into being. The suns, planets and moons, with their precise placement in space, would require intricate balance between opposing forces. This ruled out the other incredulous theory that it had all been a coincidental accident. No, it was far too organized for that. Some talked about a guardian of the universe, an infinite power that created all and lived through all. Zentran could identify with this concept as well, although had little understanding of such. Few existed that he could discuss these thoughts with, or even mention the subject in passing to. His insights were reserved for his two closest friends, his only friends. Currently, in this sector of the Confederation, especially here on Delta 4B, these theories and childish books were not taken so lightly. They were banned.